Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. My name is DJ Wooldridge, and with me is Roxy Strider to discuss The Falcon and Winter Soldier, Episode 4, The Whole World is Watching. Boy, is it. John Walker loses his patience with Sam and Bucky as they learn more about Karli Morgenthau. This episode was directed by Kerry Skoglund and written by Derek Kolstad, who also wrote the last episode. So diving in, of course, we ended last week with the introduction of Ayo, who's from Black Panther and Captain America Civil War. And she and Wakanda is not too happy with Bucky releasing Zemo from prison. Bucky, we see a little bit of Bucky's past in Wakanda and the deprogramming process, which she was a part of, which I thought was a little smart, like connective.
Way to bring it together.
Exactly. And she gives Bucky 8 hours with Zemo. And in that 8 hours, they go to a refugee camp. I think that's what they're supposed to be at, is a refugee camp to find Karli, and Sam and Bucky do not have any luck, but Zemo is. They're proving Bucky's point. Zemo is able to get some information because you need to be a little bit. It's not too bad to have somebody that's a little bit shady on your team, knows how to use candy to get what they're looking for. What did you think about them going to this camp? And this is an episode where we start to find out more about the Flag Smashers and get into a little bit of specifics about what they're doing, why they're doing it.
I have to say, I thought that this episode was pretty flawless. I loved this episode, and I have loved episode 2, 3, and 4 so much. Mm-hmm. Episode 1 for me was still a wee bit slow, but in general, for me, 2, 3, and 4 have been phenomenal. And I liked what they did here because I do like seeing that this all come to, the fact that we were talking about, you have to be. Some of these people are not good people, but some of these people are on the gray scale. And what we're watching is all of these people be on the gray scale. Yeah. But that gray scale turns dark really fast. And you might think that you're in the right and the ends justify the means. And we keep hearing that, he's a means to an end. He's a means to an end. But I think all of the storylines have a means to an end. And none of them are necessarily the right way of going about it. So I loved watching that. I think that it was really cool to watch Zemo be able to do a job that Sam and Bucky could not do. And that just shows that we do need him on the team. Yeah. Also, us as an audience and never trusting him when he goes over to the children, same way that Sam and Bucky are like, what is he doing? You don't know what he's about to do to these kids. Yeah. You don't know what he's about to do because it's like, is he going to hurt these children? Nothing. I don't put anything past him. And at this point, I don't put anything past Disney Plus to show us. Yeah. So it was really, the tensions are high. And then it's like, oh yeah, he's going to be manipulative because that's what he does. He's not going to, do it. He's just going to be manipulative. Also, parents should use this as a don't take candy from strangers lesson. Yeah. Yeah, I just think that it was so well done. I'm loving this Karli Flag Smasher storyline. I think that it's making me question my morality, what I believe to be right, how I would handle a situation. And same thing with the serum. All around, I'm so into this, DJ.
I really agree. This episode for me was not. I think we're flipped a little bit. Like I actually really enjoyed episode 1. This one I enjoyed it because I've enjoyed this series overall. But of it's 5 episodes, right? Of the 5 episodes we've gotten.
It's been 5?
No, it hasn't because it's only 4. 6. This is 4. Sorry.
Yeah.
Of the 4 episodes we've gotten,
I almost just panicked. Like, which one did I miss?
Wait, what's happening?
What are we talking about?
Yeah, no. Of the 4 that we've gotten, this has been my least favorite, while still being a show I really enjoy, and I really enjoy what it's doing. And I appreciate there wasn't a point in this episode, and we're going to get to it, where I was kind of like, wow, I actually need to know more about what the Flag Smashers actually want, like, and what they're dealing with. And so I'm glad that we dove into that a little bit. So with the information that Zemo and by the way, I think if there is I want to say if there's an MVP on the show, but everybody's an MVP on the show. Everybody's
Yeah.
great. But I think if there's a character that's gone from one that I liked to one that I 100% want to see more of is Zemo. Like I know some people had issues with Zemo in Civil War. I wasn't one of those people. I thought he was utilized really well. I thought he fit into that narrative really well. But it wasn't necessarily one that I was itching like, oh, let's get more Zemo. And now it's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind if this becomes a thing. Like if he's a part of these things moving forward.
I know that I'm going a little off topic and that we might talk about this more and what we're into, but I do just want to say if you are looking for more Zemo, Marvel and Disney Plus did release an extended cut to Zemo dancing. It is an hour of Zemo dancing. Released the Zemo cut. So if you were like the rest of the internet that liked that little gif of him doing his little thing, Daniel Bruhl can be seen dancing for an hour.
Is it recycled footage or is it all like? Because I can't imagine they. I mean,
it's a 1 hour loop, DJ.
How long? But is it the one clip we got in the show just looped for an hour?
Kind of.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's on YouTube and it is 1 hour of him just doing a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight. He's doing his thing. And people were like, wow, release the Zemo cut. Only took 6 days. Release the Snyder cut. Took over 1,000 days. Yeah. This is a huge deal. We're moving forward.
Weirdly, same amount of money also cost $70 million to get the Zemo cut, which is strange to think about. But listen, Marvel's got the money. They got that Disney Plus cash. They're burning through it.
Yeah.
So using the information Zemo got, Sam goes to meet with Karli at Mama Donya's funeral, which I thought this was one of the strongest parts of the episode. And it's been something I've been looking forward to because Sam has been, he's been sympathetic to a degree to what the Flag Smashers are doing, sympathetic to Karli.
Well, to me, DJ, do you feel like Sam a little bit here? Like Sam is our window in where Sam is kind of like, let's see if we can handle this before we go completely level 10 on everybody. Like he sees where Karli's coming from because I feel like Sam is supposed to be the audience in this kind of bringing us in being like, I'm going to try all fronts before we go explosive.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a large part of that also, not only is he the audience, but he's also now, even though John Walker has the shield and has the costume, Sam is functioning as Captain America in that not only he's the moral center of the show. And so it tells you a lot about the sympathies of the creators that Sam is open to hearing Karli out. You know what I mean? Because I think if he was against it, I think that would be the show telling us we should also be against it. And so with him being open to it, I think that allows us an opportunity to explore this. And I'll be interested to see. I do hope that we don't land on the side of like to the point where Karli keeps escalating things to the point that it's like, oh, she's just the bad guy. I think living in this space where like they're really at this point, I think it's safe to say Karli, the Flag Smashers are the antagonist of this show. That doesn't make them the bad guys. And I think that's I hope we stay in that place because I think that's more interesting than if we keep pushing things to the point where Karli's just a bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that that's what they're doing, especially, we see in I know we've already been giving spoilers, but full blown spoiler on this one. We see what tit for tat got Karli today, which is that, Karli killed Cap's Karli's people kill Cap's right-hand man. Yeah. And then Cap kills Karli's right-hand man. Yeah. And that is, I think when Sam was trying to warn her, this can only lead to something bad, but she thinks she's got the upper hand. I don't think that that's a possibility she even saw possibly coming. Yeah. So I know that in that moment, that's got to either cause change for good or change for evil. This will either be the moment that we see Karli now go past the point of no return, which arguably she might have already done. Yeah. Or we see her realize that she can't do this alone and she needs to find some kind of compromise because that was, I think, the moment, and we'll see what happens next week with that. Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. We'll definitely dive into that more down the line. At this moment, when
while Sam is talking to Karli. And we're going to get into this more too. John is not doing great. The impression I get is that he's cracking under the pressure, possibly dealing with some PTSD. Anyway, he blows up Sam's little combo with Karli, which leads to her losing the super soldier serum. And in another scene that I thought was very interesting, Zemo shows up. And there's a moment where you think like, oh, dang, is he going to take the serum? And I like their because to make you like, to have Zemo exist in this gray area, you need to understand as an audience that he is committed to these ideals. He's not a hypocrite. And so even though there's a moment where it's like, will he take it? He ends up just smashing them. And I was like, that's good. That's good. Because now that just reinforces to me, like, no, he means this stuff. He's not just, not blowing smoke. He's committed to this.
Yeah, I knew though, whenever there's a bunch of vials and they're all cylinder shaped, you know that one of them's going to survive.
At least one.
You know, there was no way that New Cap was going to walk down there and there was going to be no vials left. So you're just waiting for it as they're panning, and then ding, 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 we see it, and you're like, the second we clock it, I wonder if there's anybody out there who questioned whether this man was going to take it or not. I mean, we're having conversations the whole episode. Would you take it? Would you take it? And I get it, honestly.
Yeah.
I get those conversations because I would have the same conversation, especially when we see from him all episode, he is too weak to do his job.
Yeah.
He's too weak to do his job. And I don't mean that like in any kind of judgmental way. I just mean that like, don't send a man to do a woman's job. I mean, we see what happens when the Wakanda warriors come and kick the living. Just in general, he can't do his job.
Yeah.
He can't beat Bucky. He can't beat Sam.
Yeah.
He can't beat anybody. You know, he's Captain America and he is too weak to do his job. So if I were him, I don't know. I honestly might have taken the serum as well.
Yeah. And all those medals do not necessarily equate to content of character. Anyway, but I do also like talking about the grave. Like I think the internet has been very vocal that we don't see John as Cap. We don't like John Walker. He seems unstable, but he's not evil. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's just been part of a system that used him and hasn't had a system that does not do the work to help unpack the things it makes you do, if that makes sense.
100%. And he's, I think we all know somebody kind of like him, where like they think that they know best.
Yeah.
They walk into a room and whatever their idea is what goes. It's not like he wasn't busting in on Sam and Karli because he wanted to hurt Sam. He was busting in because he thought he knew better.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's wrong, but he's not evil.
Yeah.
And so it's that person that continuously like makes your life worse, but they're not doing it maliciously. They're just not right.
Yeah.
And so I love a character like that. I don't know that we stay in that place, especially with the ending of the episode. I think that, he's coming from a place of wanting to help. And then sometimes when you're so angry, you see red, that goes away. And I'm interested to see what has happened with this character. A lot of people have been talking about how he's the big bad of this series. And I'm not convinced of that yet.
So obviously you talked about his getting his ass kicked. A big part of that is with the Dora Milaje. Cool moment with one of them picking up the shield.
That was sick.
What did we think about, AO and the incorporation of the Dora Milaje in this episode?
Well, I do think just going back to earlier, because I didn't get to touch on it, a lot of people's favorite moment was what happened in Wakanda with Bucky. Yeah. And people were, tweeting, I'm crying. Oh my God, watching Bucky cry, I'm crying. I thought that was a great way of looping back in Wakanda and showing some stuff with Bucky there that made this hold more weight.
Yeah. When
we get here. And then I think that the Dora Milaje were just fantastic. Like, I think that that's exactly what this show needed at this moment. Was in general, by the way, I'm just really liking how this show handles their women characters like they're real people.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of shows just don't do that. And so we've got a lot of different types of women on the show because, spoilers, there's a lot of different types of women in the world.
That's shocking. I'm shocked.
I thought that was great because it was funny. It was funny to watch them walk in and for Sam and Bucky to know exactly what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But for New Cap and Sidekick to be like, no, we got this. And we all know at home, we're all like, okay, best of luck to you, my friend.
Yeah.
And the whole sequence as Zemo slips away and goes through his escape route, just every part of this, I was like, this is really, really cool. It makes sense. It makes sense why they want him so bad, but at the same time, this is about showing up and what does she say? We are wherever our jurisdiction is wherever we are, or something along those lines. Yeah. Like, you have no jurisdiction here. What? Yeah. What are you talking about? Like, who do you think you're speaking to?
Nothing negative ever happens when representatives of a country come to another country and be like, of course we have jurisdiction here.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. And also, in every episode, we need some kind of badass action sequence.
We get two at least, yeah.
Totally. Every time a spear was thrown and like into the shield and preventing him from or whatever, they made everybody else look like children.
Yeah.
Like legitimate children.
Well, and it's
interesting. The thing with Bucky's arm too.
Mm-hmm. So we learn more about the Flag Smashers in this episode. We learned that during the blip, essentially because of the crisis, there were no borders and countries accepted people with open arms to help rebuild, which makes sense. Again, going back to something we discussed a couple episodes ago, when we were talking about elite panic, that like, no, actually people in charge are always like, people are going to go crazy. What people actually do in a crisis is they come together. You know what I mean? So this is one of those situations. And then post-blip, everything tries to put stuff back to normal, which displaces millions of people. And that's what Karli is trying to fight against. Karli also gets a very interesting scene where she calls Sam's sister, which I like the actress that plays Sam's sister a lot. And I thought they're in her. And I'm a big fan of
Sarah. What was the character?
Her name is Sarah Wilson. Yeah. Played by Adepero Oduye. And
she's excellent.
I like it when you compare. I think one of the coolest things about TV shows, because they have more time, is there's opportunities to pair off characters that wouldn't normally interact. And so this was not an interaction I was expecting. And I thought the two actresses, even though they're in different locations and I would assume filmed at different times, the dynamic there was really engaging. And also, Zemo calls Karli and her goals. He calls her a supremacist, which, if you look up the dictionary definition of a supremacist, is a person who believes in or advocates the supremacy of a particular group, especially a racial group. So I don't know that I get what he's saying, especially with he's anti-super soldier and stuff like that. You know, and of course, Karli refutes this. I think I'm in more agreement with, not that I necessarily agree with all of Karli's methods. I don't know that I agree with calling her a supremacist.
What I think, though, is that Zemo really thinks that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's using it as a tool to get to Sam and Bucky. I think he really believes she is a supremacist, because I think what he is saying is that she believes the people who stayed have more of a right than not even than the people who came back, but that they take priority now, is what I think he thinks she thinks.
Yeah. And what I think she thinks is more that, like, hey, we can all coexist. Like, we don't need to be thrown out. And again, it's like, and this was, it's so strange for me. I don't know if you have this feeling, but I think it's rare for me to watch a show and be like, oh, this could use more episodes. More often it's like, you didn't need this many, especially in the early days of Netflix, where everything had 13 episodes, whether it didn't need it or not. This is one of those few times where it's like, actually, I mean, I don't know what we're going to do the next 2 episodes, but you could use a little bit more real estate to unpack some of this stuff. Like at this point, I don't know. Are we going to circle back to Isaiah, or have we just like moved on now?
I think we have to. I just don't know if it's going to be in this iteration of this show. I don't know. And, when she says, and when Sam kind of gets her to say, and I would kill them all again if I had to, we start to see the supremacist side of it. I was shook a little bit, because I'm partially on her team, but then when we hear that, and we hear what she's doing with the serums and what the army she's creating and what she's not willing to give up.
Yeah.
There's some flaws. There's some holes in her logic.
Mm-hmm.
There's some flaws in the system for sure. For sure.
So we also get to learn more about John Walker. We find out that he and Battlestar did some stuff that he's not proud of in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
I think even though the show doesn't touch on it, I feel like that bit of information implies that perhaps he's dealing with PTSD or he's dealing with the aftermath of some of that stuff. And I do think, I don't actually know if we need to spend any more time in that. I think just that little bit of kernel of information actually informs a lot about who he is.
Well, you do feel for him in that moment. You do, or at least I felt for him in that moment. Like when you are part of a war, I think that this is a big conversation amongst soldiers and people. Like when you are part of a war like World War II, where you come home and it was very clear it's a war that needed to be fought. Mm-hmm. There's nobody disagreeing that World War II was a war that needed to be fought. Nobody's sitting there questioning, and you have to do what you have to do, as opposed to when you come home from a Vietnam War.
As opposed to literally every other war in history.
And there, not only do you get the world kind of questioning things, but you yourself, anything you had to do as a soldier, when you can't rely on your mind telling you, yes, but this was 100% necessary. I think we're watching him kind of try to say like, yeah, I got these medals, but for any, if I wasn't a soldier, I would be hung, like for the things that I was doing there. So he was doing his job, which we allow people to do their jobs. But then I felt for him because that sounds like a really horrible place to live.
Yeah. And we get a question here from Danny from the Discord. The real question is, would either of you take the serum? That's, as you pointed out, Roxy, throughout this discussion and as throughout the episode, a big point of contention or question is, would you take the serum? So Roxy, would you take the serum?
When we hear, but there's never been another, there's never been another Steve Rogers since. Mm-hmm. I do think that if Roxy Strider doesn't have to do jack crap,
mm-hmm.
I don't have to save the world or do anything. So as Roxy, no.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm New Cap,
yeah,
I think I would be cocky enough to say I will be the next Steve, and this is not going to corrupt me.
Yeah.
And I have to take this because otherwise I don't stand a chance. I can't even fight non-super soldiers.
Yeah.
Non-super soldiers just came, and that's not because of lack of training. There's nothing I can do that could get me to their level unless I take this. So yeah, I think I would have. I don't think that's not my advice. But just being honest, yeah, I think I would have.
Yeah, I think that's a good point if you're in John's position, because obviously if you're in our position, we don't need that. It doesn't help with anything. It'd be cool, but it's not whatever. It is interesting that, a plot point that I found really fascinating early on in the MCU is this idea of, and they mention it here, but about the serum bringing out what's inside of you. That used to be literal. With Steve and with the Red Skull, and even with Bruce Banner with the Hulk, he was trying to recreate the super soldier serum, and it made him the Hulk. It brought out what was inside of him, and I think that if I knew that in this universe, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I don't want to, I don't want to accidentally turn my skull red. But then you look at the Flag Smasher, you're like, well, they're fine. They work. They're just themselves now.
But are they?
But are they? That's a good question. All of this leads to our final confrontation. Sam and Bucky go to meet with Karli. It is cut short by John Walker attacking the Flag Smashers. I think early in the episode, Sam recruits Sharon to help track USA. He's not US agent yet, John. But it's for him to go after
by his name, Cap.
No, that's okay. Anyway, but it's the move on the fly. I don't quite know what happened there, but they go confront John Walker, as you mentioned early in the episode. This confrontation doesn't go great for Battlestar. I think if this were a different show with different leads from a different showrunner, I'd be a little bit more perturbed that the black guy dies. But I do think I do think there's a very intentional Battlestar serves as kind of a play on the way sidekicks have functioned within the MCU so far. So I think a lot of that is intentional. Although I really like that actor. Roxy, I assume we're on the same page. The language of the show conveyed to me that he's dead. We don't get like a concrete confirmation of that.
Well, I mean, the second Lamar's head hits the pole and you see the blood and stuff, I don't think there's any way. No, Cleve Bennett is his name.
Yeah, he's great, and I think he did really great work. I thought he was.
One of the best parts about the show is that he truly believes in his friend.
Yeah.
And like stands by him, and in the way that Bucky keeps saying that him and Sam are not partners.
Yeah.
They really are partners, and Lamar was sweet.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot. I like that character. I agree that I wasn't obsessed with the fact that they killed him, but I do think that what is beneficial for a show that has multiple black characters is that you're not killing off your only black character. So but I will definitely miss him because I think he was a great plot device and a really talented actor.
Yeah.
But this was the moment where you kind of know, like, oh, shit's gonna get real, because showing somebody's true colors right now means we're about to see what New Cap thinks about this.
Yeah.
And I mean, New Cap can't even handle it for 1 minute.
Yeah.
New Cap's never heard of taking a moment to step back and breathe. New Cap in front of all of the cameras and in front of every single person in the square. New Cap's like, I do not care. I am going to bludgeon this man to death.
Yeah.
Like whoa.
Yep, and I thought the image, and I didn't know if they were going to do this because I don't know. Obviously Disney Plus is very big, like we're on PG-13 tops, so I don't quite know what this show's relationship with showing blood is. So I was like, are they going to show the blood on the shield? And then they had that shot. I'm like, oh, you did it. You did it. And because that's a very evocative image. At first, I was like, wow, this is the first time that shield's killed somebody. I'm like, that's not true. I'm pretty sure in the beginning, Winter Soldier straight up decapitated a guy when he threw it. But which kind of threw me off when Walker straight up throws the shield in the side of Zemo's head, and Zemo's just kind of like fine later. And I was like, well, I guess he doesn't have the super soldier serum yet, so I guess he'd be fine, but I feel like that's at least a hospital visit. I don't know if like a damp rag helps with that. But anyway, like you said, Roxy, John Walker chases down one of the flag smashers, one that we've been seeing throughout the episode, and bludgeons him in front of cameras. What do you think? This leads to the title of the episode, The Whole World is Watching. So, obviously, I don't think this is spoilers for anybody because I don't know. I'm just going based off the trailer. We see Sam practicing with the shield. We know at some point Sam's getting the shield back. Do we think it's like a straight line from this moment to that? Do we think that the government is going to stick by their cap, or they're going to be like, oh, let's do some damage control? What do we think the direct fallout of this is going to be?
If it was one or two people who had seen this, I do think the government would be like, let's do a little damage control. Let's bribe some people. Yeah. Let's just, cover this up.
Let's show the person he bludgeons us. Let's show his, his mugshot and talk about how, like, if there's any drugs in his, he had super soldier serum in his system. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Too real. I think that because of the amount of people they showed us that were there is no covering this up.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to lose the shield. I think he's going to lose the title and the shield. I don't know what that will look like. We only have 2 episodes left, so I think there kind of has to be a direct line. The one thing that I really don't know, what am I going to call her? The accountant? What's our
shadow broker?
What'd you call it?
Wait, who are we talking about?
Yeah, power broker.
Power broker. Sorry, Shadow Broker is from the Mass Effect games, and I do like it. I found it interesting that you said, even though the show specifically mentions him as a he, that you refer to as a she because it's probably Sharon Carter. It's probably Sharon Carter.
Only because of that.
Yeah.
That's the one aspect that I don't really know, because clearly the power broker is working with the flag smashers in some capacity and has a relationship with Aaron in some way. So I don't know. That could also be a straight line to dethroning him.
Yeah.
There's a couple different things, but we only have 2 episodes. So yeah, we got to get him. We've got to oust him really quick.
Yeah. Do we think that, because I feel like that this show is very explicitly building to Sam as Cap. Do we think that that this is leading towards the government being chill with that, or do we think we're building towards Sam as Cap and the government doesn't like it, but they're not going to do anything about it?
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that the government wants Sam to be Cap.
Too bad.
Yeah. Number one, because racism.
Yeah.
Number two, because they want to mold whoever's in that seat, and he's unmoldable.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us for another review of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Please like and subscribe and share this video. It really helps us out. Please let us know what you think is going to happen to John Walker in the comments. And we'll see you all next time.